everyone, welcome to another round of Chitter Chatter. और आज का Chitter Chatter 7 बजे क्यों है? क्योंकि 7 बज गए और हमारे साथ है author 7 के Abhimanyu. Well, 7 is a collection of 7 short stories. Stories that dance on the thin line between reality and fantasy. Stories that will leave a strange taste in your mouth. Strange taste with a question mark as one of the flavors. So this Chitter Chatter, because it is on 7, we decided to do with 7 baje with Abhimanyu. And I shall send him a request. Jai Shri Krishna says looking pretty today. Thank you. Hey Karan Pandey. Good evening. Krishna Pratik 3129. Hi. Aditi 1795. Hi. Official Just News. Hello. So I am sending a request to Abhimanyu क्योंकि बज गए 7 और हमें करनी है बहुत सारी बात. So let's send him a request. And in the meantime, you know what you have to do. You can keep sending in the questions and the hearts and the comments. And I'm going to try and ask all the questions. If not, you know that the Chitter Chatter is going to be on IGTV as well as YouTube and Spotify. And agar aapko short stories pasand hai, then this is 7 stories collection that you're going to enjoy. Hey Abhimanyu, welcome on Chitter Chatter.
Hi Shweta, good evening. Thank you for having me on the show.
7 बजे
I'm good.
7 बुक के बारे में हम बात करने वाले हैं, तो हमें बताइए, how have you been? How's the reviews of the book? Tell us a little about 7.
Straight away, yes. So, about Sat. Do you remember having your first cigarette? I mean, it's a general question, not just straightly directed towards you, but I'm just firing indiscriminately. Sat is very similar to reading Sat. Reading Sat is very similar to having your first alcoholic drink with your friends when you were in school. Let's push the boundaries a little. It's like experiencing narcotics or pornography for the first time, or maybe having an illicit affair. The point is that reading Sat is very similar to committing a sweet sin. You will enjoy it, but you will also be fearful of, getting caught in the act.
Wow, that's a beautiful description of Sat.
Another thing. Every short story ends with a very strong and obvious now what. So when the story ends, you'll have that now what. So the fun part is that this now what is different for everyone. Then your now what will be totally different to your families or friends. So it's like different ending for everyone.
It's like, there's a famous quote saying that not everybody reads the same book, but everybody has a different take on the book. No two people have the same take on a particular book. And that's exactly with your 7 stories. Like you said, every story has an open end. So every reader has a very different imagination to like what happened next. Like what next is actually something that every viewer can actually read and come up with their own story.
Right.
So how did you decide on these ranging genres? Because all your 7 stories are very different from each other. It's not like, you stuck to one particular genre. एक से बढ़कर एक है. So how come you decided on that?
Thank you. The decision came from sheer ballsiness, if I may, because I thought that yes, I can write fantasy and I also can write romance, but hey, I can also write transgressive fiction. So what do? So I thought that let's stick to my writing style. I started calling it provocative literary fiction. That gave me the flexibility to, experiment with multiple genres. So I just thought that, let's go for it. Let's see how people react to it. And so far, it's been pretty decent. Yes, I'm enjoying what people are saying about Sat. Yeah.
So people, if you haven't read Sat, you know what you have to do after this Chitter Chatter. Buy your copies, read Sat and tell him what you liked about it, which story touched your heart. And even wait for it because I'm going to tell you which story touched my heart. So it's very difficult to choose between all of them because they're like really different from one another.
Yes, they are. I agree. Guilty.
So, in your book, before we start reading Sat, you very clearly say that, you didn't choose writing chose you. So when did you decide that you are a writer?
You just said it. It was never, it was always choosing and not deciding for me. So in school, do you remember we used to read these horror stories called Goosebumps by R.L. Stein? So
my nephew still reads them and he's like super enthused about them.
Exactly. So those books, some of those books had, author gave the reader a choice at the end of a page after every few 50 pages, right? He used to give the reader a choice that, accept the cola glass from the creepy old lady, go to page 75, or get the hell out of the house, go to page 82. So the reader has to choose the fate, right? I was faced with a similar situation 10 years ago. I was a budding lawyer back then, and I came home from work and I had to type this rejoinder for my boss. I don't know how it happened. I never thought of writing ever, but I started writing a short story. And when it ended, and it ended that very night. When it ended, I was in tears and I was shivering. So it felt right. Whatever happened, it just felt right. So I also had two choices that, uh, write fiction, go to quit your job, or, don't be stupid and go to page, write the damn rejoinder. So I made a choice 10 years ago, and here I am in front of you today.
We are glad you made that choice, and I'm sure all the readers who've read your first book and Saath would be very happy with the choice that you made that choice, and writing chose you, like you say.
Yes,
Also, but you faced rejection from a modern daily, and you still went ahead with making this book. So, what kept you
right.
motivated, and how did you overcome the rejection? Because there's a very thin line. There are two choices: you face the
Hmm.
rejection and you work and you succeed, or you just lose hope. But you succeeded, and by God's grace, may you succeed a lot more, and may this book reach a lot more readers. But tell
Thank you.
us your journey when you faced the rejection. How did you keep yourself motivated?
Motivation was never a problem for me because, here's the thing. I, it's like you when I started writing, when I decided that okay, this is it, this is the path that I've chosen. So my childhood, I do not come from luxuries, but I've had a very comfortable childhood, very comfortable. I've had a very protected childhood. So there was never this fear that okay, मैं भूखा मर जाऊंगा. You know what I mean. So if I come from that privilege, so I must persevere, I must sacrifice, and I must work hard. Every morning when I get up, I just have one thought in my head that I have to be one of the top writers of the century. Not my city, Jammu, not this country, but I have to be one of the top writers of the century. So when I think about that, everything aligns itself in my day accordingly. So motivation was never a problem for me. Those rejections, yeah, I was furious back at that time. So that anger gave rise to Saath. But I was never, this thought never occurred that I'll stop writing because of, Times of India did not select my short
I
stories
was
or whatever.
refraining from taking the name, and I
No, no, it
chose
happened.
to call it a modern
And
daily.
and I was, I was call it, naive enough to actually be furious at Times of India that how dare they reject my stories. They were poorly written. They were just written out of desperation because I wanted them to acknowledge my first novel Beyond Three Words, which I failed to reach out to, people. I couldn't find readers for that book because I didn't know how marketing worked.
So we have Nikki Chawla here saying more power to you, Abhimanyu. We have
Thank you,
Dinesh
Nikki.
Swara saying, hi Shweta, looking great as usual. Thank you, Dinesh. And keep the good work going, hoping to collaborate. Oh, his book is coming out, Krishna Prophecy, and you must read even his Shiva origin. It's
All
really
right.
good, and he wishes you best wishes as well.
Thank
Besides
you so
that, we
much.
have Romeo Rules. I am Prathamesh, call me Jay, and all of them sending you best wishes and a lot of hearts from our chat. Also, you channelize your anger in the right way. Anger
Yes.
is something that, and you also realize, okay, they were poorly written, you need to work on your craft, and you
Sure.
started working. But it's
Right.
very rarely that happens. So when you decided that, okay, I need to channelize it in the right way, I need to start. So from very there did the book start? Like, did start from that point itself, or was it a little later?
So maybe subconsciously you're asking about the title, that how did I come up with the title Sat? So I had a few short stories which were, as I said, poorly written. But so I said, the moment I faced the rejection multiple times from the newspaper, right? It was a short story contest. And the judges were the most famous authors of India. So when I faced rejection, so I just made a promise to myself that okay, I will come up with my short story collection and it will be traditionally published. So shout out to Lalita, my agent, who actually spotted me at an event. So where I was just supposed to talk about my first book. So that happened, and things just started falling in place one after the other. So when I had 7 short stories, again the ballsy move, I said, to hell with it, I'm going to call it Sat. It's a big move to think that, okay, you're going to target international audience, but why are you international audience also? Of course, Indian audience first, but international audience also. So, why Sat? How will they relate? And then I was like, they will if the cover looks good, if the stories on the back page looks good. So why not? So yeah, it was just a, decision. So I said, yeah, Sat, I have 7 short stories. Let's go out with it.
You have taken a lot of ballsy decisions, is all I can say on our Chitter channel.
It's fun. It's fun.
So, Shagaryak.90 says, really good book, must read.
Hey,
And Scrappy Coke
he's a
was
dear friend.
asking,
Thank
how to
you.
start writing, Abhimanyu?
I think I answered that question. How did I start? But
No,
I'll
no.
say that again.
How
So,
would you suggest him to start writing? Because thoughts
oh,
come
I'm
in his
sorry.
mind, but he's very
Uh,
perplexed on how to start writing.
So if you want it really bad, if you really want to be a writer, don't write. Stop writing. Don't do that. Because if you want to write it, you will always force write. I know there are a lot of writers who do that. I mean, they can. Anyway, and I'm not talking about non-fiction. If you want to tell people how to be a millionaire or, give them meditation tips and whatever, please do that. But when it comes to storytelling, if you really want, because most of the people, I'm not saying you are, but most of the people are attracted to the romance of the writer's life, which is in a way very romantic. A writer's life, I do not deny that. But most of the people are seduced by a writer's lifestyle. So that makes them think that, okay, I want to be a writer. Please do not commit that mistake. If you are supposed to write, if you are a writer, you will end up writing a story. You will just need a little push. You won't need my advice or Shweta's advice or anyone else's. You will just start writing. So till the time that doesn't happen, try not to write. I mean, try not to bore people. That's the whole point.
Yeah, please don't bore people because here I'm trying to motivate people to read more since in today's time, reading
Yes.
is kind of reducing. A lot of OTTs are coming in. So please write stories that are exciting, intriguing, so that it intrigates more people to read. And now my next question to you is, how long did Sart take from writing to publishing to everything?
It's funny, but it took 7 years
Ah,
because
मुझे
I
सब
stopped
साथ
writing.
के around ही revolve हो
Yeah,
रहा है.
it's fun. Yeah, because Beyond Three Words, my first book, a novel, right? So I wrote it when I was 22. I self-published. I actually not even self-published. I printed them. Like I found a printer and I printed a copy, a few hundred copies, and tried selling them. And then I got a self-publishing deal at Partridge Publishing. So I was trying that for a couple of years. Things weren't happening. Things weren't happening. So I thought that, let's take a break, or maybe, just come after some time. So then this Times of India thing happened. And when that happened, then I was just absorbing life, however things were coming. I was moving to Delhi to do some civil services preparation. Then I found a job in Pune as a content writer for a design firm. So at the back of my head, I even did podcasts for a while, just to grow my network and talk to people and stuff like that. And I was a big Joe Rogan fan. I still am. So that's why I was like, why not? Let's just create a bastardized version of Joe Rogan experience. So doing all those things, I kept on writing. But I told you about this event that happened where I got spotted. When that happened, that was a push for me, that let's just go in, just pedal to the metal, as they say, just full speed, let's just go for it. Then I started writing. So I condensed everything in 1.5 year, but the process was going on for 7 years. Yes. So in a way, characters were building up for 7 years.
Everything is about Saat today. Be it like he started it 7 साल पहले. आज का Chitter Chatter 7 बजे.
7 बजे,
And all you have
yes.
to do is ये chit chat के बाद go and get your copy of Saat. And
Yes,
you DM
do
him,
that.
put in the reviews, spread the word. And in case you've missed any part of the Chitter Chatter, you can always go back and see it on our IGTV. So tell us a little about your writing style. You've called this term PLF. Tell our viewers
Yes.
about it.
It's called provocative literary fiction. And again, as I don't like the idea of getting known as Abhimanyu who writes thrillers, or Abhimanyu who writes transgressive fiction or writes fantasy. I thought that, let's create an identity around my writing style. The way I write, the way I behave when I am on my laptop, or. So this name came from the idea that I do not like getting bored at all. When I'm writing, I just, I even with people around me, I avoid company most of the time because I get bored very easily. So it's my problem. I'm not saying that people are boring, but it happens to me a lot of times. It happens to me even when I'm writing because that's the regular thing that I'm doing, right? So while writing, when I'm actually planning to put something out there for you to read, for people to read, I can't bore them. I mean, I don't think about them, but I can't do that. So the only way to do that, to achieve that, is that I shouldn't get bored because I will be my best judge, right? So my way of thinking is very provocative. I like amusing myself a lot. So I put in these lines or things that amuse me. I find them funny or I find them really disturbing sometimes or provocative. So I just came up with the term that, I'll call it provocative literary fiction, another ballsy move. I'll push myself like that. So now I think it'll stay for a while, for a few decades, I guess.
Yeah, and you never know, it might be a term. Tomorrow, somebody would be like, what genre are you writing? And they might say, oh, we are writing the PLF genre.
Sure. I mean, they can take it, please. I coined it. I'm saying this on record, but yeah, you can take it, please.
So on record, it is there that it is coined by him. So better give him credit if you're using that I'm making the PLF genre. But you're welcome to take it. So tell us, what was the best moment while you were writing, Sath?
Uh, Surprisingly, it was not when I ended most of the stories, like when I put a full stop on each story. That was not one of the best moments. The best moments uh, were when either the protagonist or one of the characters, when they got really exposed, right, either to themselves or in front of people. Those were one of my favorite moments. Like they moved me a lot. So, and the DMs that I got from friends and even reviewers and readers, right? It's funny that, writing has never been a form of therapy for me. It was never a form of therapy for me. I take it as a job. It is my job. But others, Saath is proving a little therapeutic for others for some reason. So I get these DMs, right? They relate to a character and they're like, I really like this character in a way, subtly telling me that, I relate to this character. So yeah, which is very good in a way, which is very good.
I think that's one of the best things that can happen to a writer.
I pat my shoulders, in solitude and I say, good job. Yeah. I do that to myself sometimes.
Right there digitally.
Thank you. So when readers say that, that is happening, those were one of my favorite moments after the book got published. While writing it, just, the same thing when characters got exposed.
And what was the worst?
None. There was no low in this. There was no low at all. I can't think of any.
What was the most challenging part with Saath?
To decide when to stop writing. Stop writing as in when to stop editing the story. Because every time I read it, each short story got better. Every time I read it. So maybe I read it for 1 month and then I left it. And I picked it up after 2 months because I was working on some other story. The story got better because I evolved as a human being, right? I met different people. They had different effects on my brain. Good, bad, ugly, however. So because I was evolving and I was reading constantly, so I was like, this shit is getting better and better. So, when do I stop? So I had to take a call before the deadline of the contract with the publishers. And yeah, that was a difficult moment because I knew that another day, yeah, maybe it'll get better. So that was a challenging thing for me.
What?
That was the most challenging part for me. If I'm audible right now, am I? I just lost my headphones. Yeah,
so
perfect.
What difference did you see in yourself as a person from the time
Right.
you wrote the first book to this current book?
I have grown older, as in I have aged almost 10 years, and it's the same. It's the same, Shweta. I don't think I've changed. Maybe maybe when you find that thing, right, you just stop aging for some reason, mentally at least. Mentally, you stop aging. I'm still there 10 years back when I was, writing beyond 3 words. There is no difference. Sure, other people affect you, but you're constant, right? Your friends, your closest people, your family, they're still there. They're still the same. They haven't changed. They're not supposed to change, right? If they did, so maybe, you're not meant to be with them. But all those who didn't, all those are same. Your life is same. So, and I found peace in my craft, right? So nothing changed. I evolved as a writer for sure from Beyond Three Words, but nothing else.
If you had to tell our viewers a secret of Abhimanyu as a writer, what would it be?
Okay, then I did not prepare this answer. Right. Okay, I'll tell you. There are two. There has there are two different Abhimanyus. There is Abhimanyu, and then there is Abhimanyu as writer. So Abhimanyu has to be a party boy who has been kept under strict check and control by the writer from the past 10 years. Yes, like absolutely. So that party boy has got very few opportunities to come out. And Abhimanyu as a writer, obsessed, 100% obsessed. This will go on for, 10, 20, 30, 40 years till I'm alive.
While right now you were letting your secret out, our viewers just got overexcited and we had so many hearts flowing our way
Yeah,
and kisses coming
I
your
just saw
way.
that.
So it
I
was,
just
I
saw
think, one
that.
of the
Yes.
best secrets that the viewers came to know, and it has
Yes.
made their Friday.
I think, yeah, some of them might know me. I don't know.
A story that was really close to you but couldn't make it to Saath.
Remember, I told you the first short story that I wrote when actually I became a writer 10 years ago. That story is really close to me. But here's the thing: when I finished that story and when I was in tears, right, I deleted that story. I remember that word to word in reverse, but I just deleted that story. That story is very close to me. I haven't revealed it to anyone. No one knows about that story, not even my family, not even my friends. I usually don't reveal my work, but that never got published. But I will find a place where I will, take that story out. I will. I have to. I owe it to that story. That story is really
And
close to me.
we readers also will wait to know about that story, since we know
I
it's
will
a
tell
story
you.
that
Yes.
is so close to your heart. So I'm sure all
Yes.
of us here would want to read it. The day is the time that you share it with all the people out there. So before we come to the last segment of Chitter Chatter, do you have your copy around so that we can have a selfie moment?
Of course. I have seen your Chitter Chatter videos. Of course I have.
Selfie time. Okay, I'm glad you did your homework.
Yes.
So this is the last segment, a very rapid fire. And
Yeah.
are you ready? So the first word that
Yeah.
comes to your mind, the first sentence that comes to your mind. An arrogant
Right.
pigeon.
Jatayu.
A mysterious giant.
Kal.
Kabul, a tattooed biker.
The true poet.
Delhi 2040.
The bubble and the hive.
Cold
No,
sandwiches.
no Qutub Minar. Another addition to
No,
that.
okay.
Yes.
Cold sandwiches.
Bo and Shreyas
Everything freezes.
in Ladakh, except
Ah.
tears.
Dream car.
Dream car, G-Wagon.
Beyond three's words.
Daniel Hart.
Saath.
Sin.
Mantra of life.
It's very long. It only gets shot once.
Audio or ebooks?
Or never audiobooks. Always ebooks or hard copy or.
Last read.
Uh, Last read The Trial by Kafka.
Current read.
Dostoevsky, Crime and Punishment.
To read.
To read has to be For Whom the Bell Tolls by Hemingway.
And lastly, Chitter Chatter with Shweta Roira.
Oh, fun, absolute fun. I hope you get to do this on, I don't know, OTT, Netflix one day. I don't know. This is
Wow.
amazing.
Thank you for such
This
a
is
lovely
amazing.
wish. And I really hope that Saath gets adapted and people get to even see it, because the stories are so beautiful, each one of them, that I really hope it reaches to a larger audience, even the ones who are not readers. And also, the way you've written Saath, it is like you can imagine the cities, like be it, Kashmir, Ladakh, you actually transport yourself over there and you're like actually seeing the scenic places out there. So I really hope that Saath gets adapted really soon and all of us get to see it too.
Thank you so much, Shweta. Thank you.
Thank you for your time, Abhimanyu, and we're looking forward for a lot more chitter chatters with you. And best wishes for Saad. And people, you have to buy your copies and DM him. Put in the reviews and let us know what you loved about Saad, which story resonated with you, which character you loved the most. And thank you, everyone. Have a happy weekend.
Bye bye. Thank you, Shweta.